You're watching the Original Music Podcast with your hosts Raymond Hems and Rick Gaffman.
All right, here we go. Episode 40 of the Original Music Podcast. Tonight, Rick Gaffman and myself, Ray Hems.
Ooh, 40.
Yeah, number 40.
Wow.
Tonight we have Dan Moore, and we're going to go a little bit off the beaten path from just music and talk about photography and, band shots for EPKs and websites and all that kind of stuff. This would be your guy. So, Dan, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. How y'all doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good.
Very well.
So we see a lot of photos in the background there. You've obviously been doing photography for a while. How many years have you been doing it?
Going on about 15 now.
Wow. And how'd you get started? How did this thing start?
Like everyone, I have a story, and I went through a period in my life where things got kind of tossed upside down. And it taught me to have goals in life, but not plans, because life will throw you a curve.
Yes.
I went through a bad divorce. I went through a bankruptcy, a foreclosure, living with my parents in their basement. And this really wasn't what I envisioned life being at that time. And I remember one afternoon, I was waiting tables, but this particular afternoon, I had just got a income tax credit, 2 child credits. So I had a little bit of money hit the bank account.
Nice.
And I'm sitting there, and I was just thinking, where did it all go wrong? And I started thinking about back to my childhood. We all in such a hurry to grow up. But I started thinking about my maternal grandfather. He was my favorite grandparent, and life was so turned upside down. I was thinking, if I wanted to try to find a photograph even to look at him right now, I don't know where I would even lay hands on one.
Yeah.
And right when I thought that, I heard a voice in my head say, pick up the camera. Not to turn this into a come to Jesus conversation, but I do live by faith, and I know we all have the divine appointments. And but when I heard that voice, it was ironic that I really hadn't had any money coming in other than waiting tables. But that day, I'd had about $3,500 at the bank account, and when I heard that, I could not get out of the door fast enough. Drove up to the Best Buy up on Cobb Parkway out near the Galleria.
Mm-hmm.
And people always ask me why I shoot Nikon. Well, when I ran into Best Buy to get my camera, and I got to the camera section, the first collection of cameras were Nikon.
Yeah.
So that's why I started. But so I bought the camera. Like most males, I think I'm bad about reading instructions. So I got home, figured out how to put the battery in it.
Yeah.
Figured out how to turn it on. And I was really big into hiking at the time. I was up at Kennesaw Mountain, probably, I'd say at least 4 or 5 times a week. But the next morning I took my camera, went hiking up Kennesaw Mountain, and was shooting pictures of birds and sticks and water flowing and clouds and leaves and everything. And I got home, and I took my SD card out, and I stuck it into the side of my flat screen, 50 inches.
Yeah.
And the pictures, they weren't anything spectacular, but I saw photos that I took pop up on 50 inches, and it captivated me. Absolutely captivated me.
Now, when you got your first camera, you said 15 years ago. How many megapixels are we talking about as far as image quality were you capturing with that first camera? What was the first camera model name?
First camera I had was a Nikon D3100. It was a starter kit.
Yeah.
Came with a battery, charger, a couple of kit lenses. My best advice for anybody looking at taking up photography is do your due diligence before you buy anything. Get someone to help you who can find out what your motive, your goals are with the camera. Because if I had somebody help me that evening, I probably went a whole different route. But it was a little starter kit, and I used that for a while and upgraded my camera a couple of times over the years to where I shoot with the Nikon Z6.
Gotcha.
Absolutely love it.
As far as I kind of know enough to not know anything about photography and video cameras. I know enough to set up cameras in the room here and that kind of thing. But can you explain to me what a DSLR is?
DSLR, the way I understand it, it has more moving mechanisms inside of it. So the first time I ever shot my mirrorless, I equated it kind of like having a DSLR in your hand and taking a picture, it's kind of like standing on a battleship with a deck cannon kind of strapped over your shoulders.
Yeah.
And when you take the picture, you kind of feel it. But the mirrorless, it's like a sniper. It doesn't feel like there's any motion inside the camera, much more quiet. Yeah.
So like back in the day when, I guess, you remember 35 millimeter cameras?
Yeah, of course.
And there was always a girls on film.
Yeah.
There was a camera sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is an amazing sound, and it's kind of iconic. It's almost like the scratching LP record.
Yeah.
As far as the sound, when you hear it, you know what it is.
Yeah.
So when you're saying the mirrorless or the other camera didn't have those moving parts, would it still make a sound like that, or was that different?
Flight sound, but you can also shoot it on silent mode where you can hear nothing whatsoever.
Oh, that's cool. So
it's like wet, things like that.
It's kind of like a Tesla. You don't hear anything unless they have that noise.
I wonder why they wouldn't just make it silent all the time. Why would they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess to give you options. Everything is options these days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you got the camera kit and you just went out and just started shooting anything you saw, I know I have a storage issue, unless these days, because I'm doing so much video. Back then, were there external hard drives that you would store all your stuff on? How, file management. What's your best advice for file management?
File management. Then I had no clue. I was just working straight off of an old Toshiba laptop. And over the years, I've upgraded, monitors and computers and things like that, and have lots of external storage drives. But the biggest thing I would say, as far as, backing up data, of course, get you something reliable that you can, put the files on that you don't have to worry about anything happening to. But as I began my quest to find my technique for post-processing is save and save often.
Yeah.
Because when you start working on stuff and you don't save and then something crashes, it's kind of a disheartening feeling.
Yeah. Hey, how many crashes have you had in your history?
A bunch.
Yeah.
A bunch. And I remember in the earlier days, when I would edit photos, I was doing a lot of portraits. Once I kind of graduated from the mountain, I started trying to do like family type pictures, or mom and kids, that type thing. And I remember back then, I always thought you look cooler if you were turning the dial on the lens. So I would take the camera out of automatic focus, put it in manual, and just try to be that guy that could catch him doing that. Finally realized one day that was a waste of time. Just let the lens do the work. But I got into portraits and things like that, and I started doing cosplays, and that's where people dress up at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
But I remember putting in at the time maybe an hour and a half into a photo. This happened probably about 3 or 4 times, and the computer would crash, and I would want to just put my fist through it. But I remember what I had in that photo, so I would actually go back through the edit again. But after shooting for 15 years, and I know a little bit about Photoshop. I don't claim to know all of it, but I know enough to get the result that I like to get with my photos. And now if I spend more than 5 minutes on an edit, and it just goes to show, that to be a professional in anything, like anytime I ever watch you pick up a guitar, I just like, man, I can go home and like pick it up and make it sound like something. But no, you can't do that. It's the thousands and thousands of hours you put into it.
Yeah.
And the same thing was true with me with photography. Is I can't tell you how much time I spend in front of a computer trying to get down editing techniques, or trying to, learn composition and how I want to frame my shots and how I can try to stand out, be a little different.
Yeah. And that, you say something that was kind of one of my next thoughts. Framing the shot. Most important, or what do you think is the most important?
Sorry to interrupt, but it seems to me like, looking at a lot of your shots, what I think is cool is the background being kind of blurred, and the subject being crystal clear.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool look. And
it's shooting a really shallow depth of field. And what I love about that is it puts a lot of emphasis on the subject.
Yeah.
I've had several people over the years ask me, why do you not pull more into focus? There's so much more to see in the photograph. But I think of what create some of that artistry, like you said, is the separation between the subject and the background and how it blurs. And especially doing portraits outdoors, and it's my favorite way to shoot. I always shoot really, really fast, so I get that good depth. It's something I love in photographs. Always will.
Yeah, those are my favorite shots.
Yeah. When you say shoot really fast, what does that mean?
Just with a wide open aperture where you have your depth of field. The way I always explain it to my wife, if you imagine I'm over here standing and taking a picture this way, my depth of field would be my thumb and my index finger. And the shallower the depth of field, the lower that distance, closes. So if I'm shooting really fast and I focus on the tip of their nose, their eyes will start to blur with some of the lenses that I shoot. So I have to be careful to make sure to capture everything you need to capture in focus, but you can absolutely create some really, really wild looks for photos.
Yeah. Well,
that's cool.
With drums, with guitars, there's these things called accessories. And I'm assuming that lenses and different lenses would be like you having 7 different snares. How many snares do you have?
I don't know.
Yeah, right. How many guitars do I have? I don't know. So the accessories, can you go down? I mean, I'm sure you can. This is a stupid question. Can you end up going down rabbit holes unnecessarily for different types of lenses to do different things? And how do you stop yourself?
Gearhead like us.
Yeah.
You have to really consult someone who understands, because there's so many different options out there. I remember when I first started, I was probably 7-8 months into it, and I thought if I had a bigger lens, that I would get pictures farther away. So I spent about $700 on a 70 to 300 millimeter, like 5.6 aperture. So and I thought $700 at the time was a lot of money for a lens. Yeah. But my favorite lens I shoot with now is a 70 to 200 millimeter Nikkor lens, and I paid $2,800 for that lens.
Oh, wow.
And but I definitely have a few lenses in the kit that I don't use as much. But I probably got about 8 lenses, and I had 2 camera bodies, but I gifted one to my son, who has picked up photography for Christmas this year.
That's awesome.
But you can definitely go down it quick. But I think I have everything I really need to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
But money invested in strobe lights, off-camera flash, ways to just take it up to the next level. So my biggest advice for anybody looking to do this, if it's something you really want to go into, get someone to direct you and guide you into what direction you want to go before you start this haphazardly buying stuff, because you'll end up saying, I didn't need to spend that $700-800 on something.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting that you say that. You ever thought of doing consultation or, classes or anything like that?
I have thought about that. I've got a few friends that I've met through photography that I've kind of mentored. And when I say mentor, it was a handful of conversations, just, hey, Dan, what do you do? Well, I just do this. I set the camera to whatever. And one of my very best friends, his name is Warren Petty, Petty. And he does NHRA, Fox Sports, rodeo stuff that you look at and you can smell the dirt and just see the particles floating through the air. And I had posted a picture one time. It was a golden hour sunset portrait I did, and I posted on Facebook. And Warren and I were friends on Facebook, but didn't really, how many people do you really know out of 3,100 people,
Yeah.
But he messaged Tanya. I think he remembered her from school. And she's like, how does Dan get those shots? And she's like, why don't you ask him? He's like, I don't know. Do you think he'd even talk to me?
Yeah.
And she's like, you really don't know Dan.
Right.
So he reached out to me, and we just have conversations once in a while. And it was over a course of several years. But he took some of the tidbits I gave him and absolutely ran with it. Yeah. And just does some absolutely phenomenal stuff. But there's been quite a few people that I would like to say humbly that I have a piece in what they do with that part of their creativity. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely something I've thought about doing, because, where much is given, much is expected. And I think it's selfish, like in photography and music, when we don't support each other as artists, because that's what we all are. And if you look back to the likes of, U2, Van Halen, Floyd, Zeppelin, I mean, there's goats of the music industry, but you think about how many musicians are out there who, they might not see the big time, but they're still big time entertainment.
Yeah.
And the same is true with photographers. It seems like so many times that if a photographer learns something, like a trick or technique, they don't want to share with anybody because they think somebody's going to take an edge up on them. But, there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of people out there who could benefit from the service of photography, but it's life-changing also. I know when I started shooting, even the very first day, it was very gratifying and rewarding, and it was something I could lose myself in. So to be able to show someone some things that might help them get to that same place, as we use our gifts and we experience our gifts, for me, for instance, it might not be in the cards for me to make it worldwide, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to still be able to use my gift to bless someone else who might.
Right.
And that's legacy. That's something that you can feel really good about. And I feel really good when I see my friends, even my son, my 18-year-old son, never heard him a day in his life said, my dad gave me this or did this for me. But he has gotten into shooting drift, car drift.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, and when you catch motion, I've done a couple of rodeos, and when you do anything motion, it's a lot different than anything else. And he just catches some absolutely amazing stuff. And only time I ever really felt like he's listened to me in his life, and he was here the other day visiting. And I was looking at a couple of pictures he'd done, and I was like, man, you got the eye. And he said, I got it from my dad.
Yeah.
And it about choked me up a little bit, man.
Yeah.
It made me really good to know that, when I'm gone, I'm going to be able to know that I left something for him and for other people.
Yeah.
I'm a creative, and I love it.
Yeah. It's so easy to end up going down rabbit holes of editing and we've talked about framing the shot. You've talked about, I want to talk about exposures and how to catch the iconic shot, Van Halen 1, I believe. There's there.
Oh yeah.
He's moving
the album cover.
Yeah, he's the album cover, Van Halen 1. Mm-hmm. I think they're all like in motion.
Everybody's in motion. Yeah.
Yeah, and the picture captures that with whatever that is. Is that exposure time or?
That's your shutter speed. So
shutter speed.
So in concert photography and lower lighting, if you want to freeze the movement, you've got to increase your shutter speed, which is going to take light away from the photo because it's opening and closing quicker.
Right.
Then you have to compensate with aperture, which is what gives you the blurriness. And when you have those two set, you use what they call ISO, which is artificial lighting. The thing about shooting concert photography, if it's not well lit, you have to shoot at a very high ISO, which can cause a lot of noise in the pictures.
Yeah.
Which you look at any kind of old-timey photo and you'll see noise all in the photo.
Yeah.
So depending on the look you're going for, that it can work. But the way I do my concert stuff, I just like it crisp and clean and dreamy looking.
Yeah. I like your pictures are amazing for sure. I've seen some cool pictures of myself that I can't recall who took them, but where I'm either twirling or just in mid fill.
Yep.
And you can see every movement of the stick. It's like, a blur of this entire swing, which is kind of cool. But you're right, the picture isn't crystal clear. It's not clean,
Yeah. I've been experimenting actually with my camera. It's the Z6 claims to be a very great camera for low light. And with your ISO, you can sit level at about a 100 ISO, and it will increase in increments. And I haven't found as high as mine will go yet. I haven't tried to use it that high, but I've actually learned to shoot a lot higher ISO, which is what gives that artificial light, so you can catch the fast shot, keep the aperture where you want it, but still get that light. You just have to play a little in post to get that dreamy look.
Yeah. I think full disclosure, Dan has been shooting Hope's Anchor since its inception, I think 2008.
About 8 years. Yeah, about 8 years I thought it had been, but it's been a long time.
It's been a
It's
long
been
time.
longer than that.
Yeah.
Back at the church back in the back, we did the church, the volleyball court, or the basketball court.
Yep.
You know, playing it.
That was probably the first shoot.
How
It
far
was.
do you and I go back? We go back a good bit, yeah. From
To me?
yeah, from the Revolution
Days, yeah.
Revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So in full disclosure, Dan has been shooting us for a long time, and
None of us are dead yet.
and none of us, yeah, we feel
It's a
like
bad
it
shot.
sometimes, but I can't say that you've gotten better over time, because you were great
Always
right out
been
of the
good.
box.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, "Whoa, those shots are amazing." And you know, again, full
It's the same with me on drums. I've
Yeah.
always been amazing.
yeah.
That's such a lie.
And it comes down to obviously, like, you know, going down the path of learning your equipment, what it can and can't do. And I'm sure when you do a shoot for us, I think you said one time I took 900 pictures. I'm like, what are you talking
Wow.
about?
Seriously? In one show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are you talking about? How do you go about going through 900 pictures and saying, "Oh, that's one worth working on"? Do you star it? Do you color code it?
That's a good question.
You know, how do you go through such a vault of data and decide, okay, I'm going to spend time on that one, or
Yeah.
that one sucked?
Yeah.
You know, how do you do that?
I remember shooting at 37 Main. This was many years ago. Michael Sweet was there.
Yep.
And I took a couple pictures. We were doing a Hope's Anchor Band shoot up there, Ray.
Yep.
But he'd asked me, you know, how those are. I showed him a couple I'd done. He was like, "Those are really good. You know, how many pictures?" And I didn't realize he was asking how many pictures that he would get, because he was asking about maybe having me in on a shoot.
Mhm.
And I'm all proud the fact that, you know, on any given time in an hour and a half to 2 hours, I can shoot anywhere up to 1,500 pictures.
Wow.
So, and those aren't high frame captures; those are individual shutter clicks.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he was like, that's just too many. That's too many. And I remember thinking, I don't care who you are, Jack. That's not too many. That's how I do what I do.
Right.
But I didn't realize he was asking how many he would get.
Yeah.
But you know, again, having that passion for anything. I mean, how can somebody, you know, slap the skins for hours on end, or, you know, shred a guitar until literally your fingers are bleeding? It's because you have that passion for it. So
Yeah.
I've had people say, "Well, I'd hate to be you to have to go through, you know, 1,500 pictures."
Yeah. That's the
And
question.
anytime I ever leave a shoot, even if it's on at a show at Mad Life, if I get home at 10, I'm usually up until midnight. I can't wait.
That
Yeah.
sounds like Ray.
That's me. Yeah.
And I literally I load them up and I start flipping through them. And as soon as I see one I like, I'll edit it.
Yeah.
And I'll just keep flipping through. And, you know, with anybody, all the shots aren't perfect. You miss some are blurry. But it's like anything else, like even writing a book or writing a song. You know, your rough draft is scratched out on a napkin.
Yeah.
But it's probably the most enjoyable part for me to preview pictures and then go through and begin the editing process.
Wow.
It's just there's nothing like it, man. It's my zen place.
Well,
Yeah.
so with all that said, and you know, when I get done with the show and I pack all my shit up and get it to the truck as fast as I can and get home as quickly as I can, don't take it personally. It's just because I just did play an hour and a half and I don't know how many notes I hit, and I'm just fucking toast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just want to get home before I fall asleep. You know, I'm 55 years old, so
Y'all doing a lot more strenuous stuff though. Also,
Yeah.
I mean,
so how many?
camera get. I won't lie, but that's when I started shooting with a monopod, a little stand like the
Oh, yeah.
sports guy Hawkins games.
Yeah.
I'm getting old. I'm only getting older, so
Yeah.
you know,
How many?
whatever advantage I can.
How many shots would you say you took at our last Mad Life show?
At the last Mad Life, that was probably, I would say, about 1,100.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, it's when I do the same thing. If I shoot a simple single camera shot of a show, I load out and do all that kind of stuff and talk to the people, and then same thing. I get home at 11, 12 o'clock at night. I'm watching it till 2 in the morning. I watch the entire show over
I watch TV to unwind for a few minutes and then I'm out.
Yeah. But I'm in the middle of a project right now, and I'm creating video for live. I'm basically doing the Giza concept with the Hoops Anchor songs, and
Nice.
and man, I'll pull up the lyric sheet, put the song in, and kind of get an idea of what what what's the theme. Fast cars? Is it nature shots? Is it clouds and mountains? Is it whatever the theme? And I don't even know what it is until it's in the timeline, and I start just looking for stuff, and I find something. I'm like, that okay, run.
Mm-hmm.
And once I start editing and running with the theme, man, 2 hours can go by like that.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing, and it's not done until I say it's perfect.
Yeah.
And
that's like when I shoot the photos. Also, people are like, "What do you do with 1,100 photos?" I find 25 to 30 cherries.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The ones that just blow me away. And what's so amazing for me when I was speaking earlier about, divine gifts and, when you have it, I mean, again, not to, flame your ego, Ray, or anything, but every time I see you pick up a guitar, I'm just like, my God in heaven. And, but I just like to
really, I feel like, oh geez, here we go.
Like when I see the photo, I'll skip through, but when I see the one, I see it.
Yeah.
And it's effortless.
Yeah.
I see you guys, play your instruments at these shows, and I'm just like, how, one, are you not nervous up there in front of people? But how do you not just make constant mistakes? And it's because you spent so
much. Let me tell you. Let me let you in on a little secret.
There are mistakes that do happen.
You can't hear them.
Well, that's because we've done it long enough to shade them. Well,
you can't. Yeah, you can't make it obvious that you're making a mistake. Like, oh shit.
Yeah, you cannot look at each other.
Right.
Throw your guitar.
Yeah. Hey, you could
that show that you shot for us.
Yeah.
And we know we've got this show down. So for us to make a mistake is A, rare, B, unacceptable, C, stupid, and we all talk about it for weeks.
Yeah.
The very first song that night, I missed. I came in one beat too late from Michael and Ray, and it completely danked us for a good 6 measures of the song before we finally all landed on our feet.
Yeah, nobody knew.
Thankfully,
nobody knew.
It's original music, and we decided to play a little jazz that night.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, had it been a cover thing or something that people have heard before, we'd have been, it would have been way worse. But it happens, and it's, so the thing is you say, how do you guys get up there and you're not nervous? We are every time. I mean, you can ask my wife. I'm at home, and after I get the drums loaded into the truck, I've got butterflies that from then on. Yeah. It's like I'm just thinking about the show the entire time. I'm thinking about it while we set up, and then she tells me, "Oh, you're fine. You're gonna be fine. You always say this. It's the same thing every time." But that's part of the rush of it that we love. You know what I mean? That's the adrenaline that wants us to all keep doing it. But so, we were getting ready to go up on the stage, and we did it differently that night than we normally do. We're on the stage already, and that night we hit, the introduction and then went up on stage. And I can't use that as the excuse for my mistake, but and I won't, because it wasn't the reason. But so I said to Ray, my heart's beating out of my chest.
Yeah.
And he said mine too. And it was right before we walked up on stage. So we are like nervous as kittens before we get up there. But once we get going and we all have our groove and we settle in, then we're good to go.
Yeah. The point with that is, Deion Sanders and his Colorado college football team might be doing a pretty good job right now. That's because they're up there with the band of brothers. And when it's showtime and go time, if I make a fumble, I know he's got my back. If Michael makes a fumble, or if Harry makes a fumble, or if any one of the players in the group makes a fumble, we just recover each other.
Right.
and that's the key to
Yeah, don't make a big deal out of it. Don't look at each other like you said. Don't don't panic. Don't just keep your composure.
Yeah, but definitely talk about it on Monday
Oh,
rehearsal.
you got to make sure it doesn't happen again. Yeah, there's no question about that.
You definitely talk about it so that you can grow from it. But well, let's take a look at a couple shots here. The first shot that we're going to look at is
who is that?
Who is that?
That is Russell Sweet.
Russell Sweet. And which band is this? Where was this shot?
Special. They're a 90s tribute band, After School Special. I'd never seen them before.
Nice.
But actually,
I've heard of that.
Became friends with Russell on Facebook and saw that they had a show at Mad Life day before yesterday. And I went out and shot some pictures of it and got some really great. It's like every time I go out, I feel like I get better and better and get stuff that I like even more.
Yeah. So look, talking about the shot, catching the hair flowing and the detail of that green light in the background with just a little bit of looks like smoke machine or a hazer. What are you focusing in on that frame? Are you focusing in on the player and the lighting in the background just happened?
Yeah. So I'm focusing on him.
Yeah.
And higher shutter speed, higher ISO. Like I said, that I've learned to push my camera's capabilities for low light, which is allowing me to shoot at higher shutter speeds. Mm-hmm. But the rest of it is just what was there.
Yeah.
What I've learned as far as capturing proper exposure in a photo, because when you're outside and the sun's blinding you, it's like, how do I know if I'm shooting correctly? Well, the first thing you do is you shoot manual. Nobody shoots on auto. One of the first pieces of advice that I ever got from another photographer was put your camera in manual. You tell the camera what to do in every aspect. Don't let it choose. But everything else that's just the way it comes out.
Yeah. So that statement that you just said brings me to another thing. Down the road of everybody has an iPhone. Everybody has the portrait mode now and the automatic focus and to be honest, they can take some really good pictures with these mobile devices. What you're doing is a step above that. When you go to manual, you're controlling your aperture, shutter speed, exposures, all these different things, and there is a visible difference of, oh, that was a great shot that somebody sent you after a show from a phone versus when Dan says, hey, here are
100%.
Here are the shots.
Yeah, no, there's no comparison.
Okay.
I still, even with camera phone technology, I don't think you can get that quality. I play around with my cell phone once in a while, and I kind of feel like I'm cheating on my Nikon when I pull my camera phone out.
Mm-hmm. But you name your camera?
So what?
Nothing. do you name your camera?
Yeah, no, that's a good question actually. What your main camera? Do you have a name like?
Because Ray names his guitars.
I've got names.
I don't. Yeah, a Nikon Z6.
The Z6.
But after talking to y'all about it, I might need to maybe, give her a name.
Yeah, that's a Z06.
I just call my shit the good one or my favorite. I don't name them. I probably should though.
Yeah, I mean it's good to.
I've got favorite symbols that I should name, but then if I crack them, then what? Then I got to have a funeral, and it's a big
a broken symbol funeral.
But I've never seen anybody take a picture of something with their cell phone that they could proudly say is hanging in their house at like 5 feet by 6 feet big. And that's what I love about shooting the way I shoot is the first photo you're looking at, you could plaster that on the side of the building at Mad Life.
Yeah.
And it would look just like that.
Wow.
But I've never been.
How is it? It's just,
you can't give away his secrets.
Well, I mean, the megapixels it's just that good of quality.
Yeah. You can blow it up and it's wild. The largest print I've done is actually this one. You can see, right up here. It's of my parents, but that one's probably about 60 by 70.
Wow.
And it just looks absolutely amazing. But I don't know. It's not just it's not just the media you're using. If it's a cell phone or a camera, I've had multiple people over the years tell me, wow, you must have a really nice camera. Looking at these pictures, and I'm like, yeah, I do. I've taught it everything it knows.
Right.
So it's just like with a guitar or a set of drums. Else, you can own a nice guitar, but it doesn't mean it's going to play beautiful music.
Yeah.
You have to know how to operate it, and I think that's one of the things that's kind of getting lost.
Yeah.
In the age of cell phones, is
Good
photographers are almost like a dying breed, because now people don't see, justifying paying a photographer to come out and get them when they can get them themselves with a Polaroid or a cell phone. But
that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that.
Yeah,
one
that's
up.
a really good point.
I would love to employ some of my favorite and I'm not just blowing smoke. Some of my favorite shots of me, you took.
Yep.
That I have in my phone. They're 100% your shots, and I think they're some of the greatest ones. I would love to have, and I would employ you for this, to have just a big picture of me hitting the cymbals. And have you ever seen a cymbal hit in slow motion?
Yeah.
I'd love to have a picture of me smashing a cymbal where the cymbal just warped, and it's just like, where I'm just got the game face on. It's just,
man, get me some good light on top of the drums, and we'll crank that shutter speed all the way up.
Yeah, I've always been looking for a shot, hoping I'd get a shot caught like that. But
one of my biggest inspirations to picking up a camera is a guy by the name of Jay Boatwright. He owns Smacks Photography.
Oh yeah,
SMA.
Jay. Hey, he does all of my sporting teams at the arena. After I saw his, right? Yeah, because of you, I believe. Yeah, I think I tried to get you to do the shoot, and he's like, "No, you don't need me. You need this guy." And it changed. It literally changed our organization's.
Oh yeah.
Presentation of.
Why is that? I mean, why not? I mean, why him over him?
Dan, this is a good question for you. So, we're in a heavily lit ice arena.
Yes.
Bright, ugly LED white
grocery store.
Yeah, grocery store lighting, and he somehow, and I'll let you expound on how he might do this. But we'll have a player in front of a hockey net and it's bright light and it's fully focused on the player, and there's light in front, but behind the net it goes to dark. And how does he pull that off? Is that an exposure?
Is this during a game?
No. This is
so these are set up to do for
team pictures.
I was going to say, because when we play, you're a stage ninja. I didn't see the entire night we were playing.
Yeah.
It's high shutter speed. So what he's doing is shooting off-camera flash, those big umbrella lights.
Yep.
It's called strobing.
Yep.
And basically what you do is if you crank your shutter speed up high enough, it kills. Like I can go out on a bright sunny day, throw my camera up to like a 7,000 shutter speed, and I'll take a picture and it'll be black. But then when you use that off-camera flash, you are completely controlling, creating all of the light, and you can use it directionally. So I can take someone outside at 12 o'clock in the afternoon and take a picture of them and make it look like it's 2 o'clock in the morning and they're standing underneath a faded street light.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, but the beautiful thing also about doing that is, if you see some of his shots where you see somebody, taking a shot in hockey and you see ice chips flying up in the air,
that's cool.
It's because shooting at that higher shutter speed, it freezes everything. But using that strobe, it allows you to shoot at extremely high shutter speeds with some really great light.
And that's the magic.
I think that's what really changed things for me when I was doing portraits. I was a portrait photographer for a long time, and it wasn't until I learned to strobe that things just really went on a whole nother level.
Yeah. It's
okay. So I have a dumb question. So when you're doing that, when you're talking about shutter speed and you're taking one shot, and can you look at that picture and like pick out certain, like in other words, a video? Can you take a video and freeze it and say, all right?
If you take video, I believe you can. I haven't done much on the video side. It's something I'm starting to get a little bit more into now.
Yeah.
But no, it gives you one photo.
One photo.
And that I like to take multiples because I shot with a guy for years who we would do portraits and he would stand up from the model and take like one or two pictures. He's like, all right, I'm good. I'm like, what do you mean? because certain things, the relaxedness of their body, a head tilt, a certain break in the lips where they just barely separate. For me, I found to find the one. I probably shoot when I mash the shutter. I probably go in on about 10 clicks, as quick as I can, because all of those are going to have some form of slight variation. And I think that's why I shoot so many.
That's why you have 1,100 shots in an hour and a half show. Yeah.
And most of them are great shots. It's just not the one. And when I come across it, it's just like in my mind, I hear that's the one.
The cherry.
The magic is knowing the one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the magic is everything. It's the framing. It's the controlling of all the parameters. But the other magic is going through that 1,100 and going, that one.
Yeah.
That one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That one. Let me ask you, and I think you probably kind of already alluded to this, but when you shoot, is it semi-automatic, click, 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 or is it?
No, it has a continuous high frame shutter where when you click the button, it'll take, I think it's 10 frames a second.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found, and I don't know if I haven't been doing it the correct way, but when I do that, it slows the camera down because it has to like catch up.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm just, pulling it manually, it just clicks every time without fail.
Yeah. Semi-automatic mode. I like it.
Yep.
Well, let's look at another shot here. We're going to look at same band, I believe, here. Lead singer, guitar player, it looks like.
Yeah. Pete. Trying to remember his name. I drew a blank.
And like he's and I notice you like to do this a lot, and I actually have to say stolen from you when I'm doing video. I'll have some clips that are in color, and I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, some in black and white are great.
Maybe that would look good in black and white.
Yeah, I agree.
But this shot, same band as the first shot.
Yeah.
And didn't notice this. He's a lefty.
Scott Niles. Scott Niles is his name, and that he's with After School Special.
Okay. And they're doing a 90s cover band type of 90s rock type thing?
Yeah, absolutely amazing. If anyone likes that kind of music, that genre, and they haven't seen these guys, definitely go check them out. It was Tanya came out with me, my wife, and I was just going to go shoot the show, but she came and joined, and she was screaming and singing and having a blast all the time.
Yeah, I mean, the detail, you can see the guy's tattoo, his sleeve in detail there. I mean, another question, because I am visually impaired. And like, I'll see something, I think it's in focus. You already said that you do this in manual, so so are you. But is there any kind of, how do you know that you're totally in focus?
Well, now, back when I was first shooting, I would throw it in manual and try to sit there and zoom the lens. I figured out real quick that was stupid.
Okay.
Nobody cares how you look getting the picture. They care how the picture looks.
Right.
So, but I shoot, my lens is on autofocus.
Okay.
But it has little sensors and things that will like highlight an eye, so that's where it's focusing on.
Yeah.
And in this master shutter, I shoot what they call back button focus. So I have one button at my thumb that I hold in consistently to keep focus, keep lock. Mm-hmm. And then I'll fire the shutter button to get the pictures as I want them.
Okay, so you have the ability to do autofocus, but still be able to manually control shutter speed, exposure, all that other stuff.
Yeah. It's literally like 4 things if you put them all together.
Yeah.
But it's just taking the time to learn it. But I think also having somebody that can explain it to you in a way that it makes it feel a lot simpler, because when you hold one of these cameras, you're like, this damn thing is more intelligent, than the computers that put man on the moon.
Yeah.
And it can be overwhelming. The owner's manual is probably a good, almost 1.5 inches thick, which I've never opened, not once.
Yeah.
Everything on the camera I've just played with and figured out how it worked, because again, I hate reading directions and instructions.
Yeah. Yeah. IKEA. I just build it.
Yeah. Who doesn't? Come on, we're guys. But yeah, so it's coordination too with that many.
Yeah.
So even just the 4 things and knowing how to do those in the what's the word? Anyway, doing them when you're supposed to do them.
The sequence.
Yeah. Do it on the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's like anything else, man. It's like I said about the instruments, but what y'all do, you do it so much. It's like a Top Gun pilot is an ace at what he does, because it's an instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like wearing his shoes. And that's even kind of how it feels like it's gotten for me at this point. And I love it, you know, having that outlet and, you know, knowing that, you know, photos are forever.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
And I love the saying, you know, you think photos aren't important, but wait until they're all you have left.
Yeah.
Ray and I were talking about this the other day. You know, he was saying that, you know, we're not getting any younger, and who knows how many more years he's got in him, you know, but to be able to, my goal is I want to have such a vast portfolio of everything I've ever shot that one day when I'm old and senile, somebody can project all my stuff up on the TV and put it on loop.
Yeah.
You know, and just let me reflect back on, I mean, the thousands and thousands and thousands of images in my catalog.
Yeah. Have you ever gone back and seen a picture that you're like, it was so long ago, but when you see the picture, it pops up. You're like, oh, I remember that shot. I remember what shoes I was wearing. I remember this and that. You know, you can almost smell the air that of wherever it was. Yeah.
There's a connection. There really is. When you sit down and you see the finished product and you're like, "Damn, I got that."
Yeah.
It's it's touching.
You've shot obviously a lot of nature shots, a lot of band shots, a lot of portraits. What's your favorite? If you had to pick, like, which genre?
Honestly, say the band stuff.
I was going to say, because you're really good at that, and then you really kind of need to be in the pits. And seems like that we should be able to get you in there. I mean, I've got enough connections that, you know.
Yeah,
I feel like we could get you down where you need to be. I don't think it'd be hard. Too hard to do. And I've got some things coming up with.
I would say the band stuff definitely is my favorite. My wife and I had our home we lived in previously to the one we live in now. The entire low level of the house was a photography studio. And when I say studio, it wasn't like a curtain up on the wall or a drape or something with a little flash. We put a lot of time into that. And I spent a lot of time down there. And what I loved about it was, again, being able to synthesize all the light. I had everything hooked up to monitors where when I took a picture, everybody in the room could see different monitors, what the photo actually looked like. Her mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and dementia probably about 8-9 years ago.
Yeah.
And we knew that she was going to be approaching a position where she needed full-time care or needed somebody.
I've been through that with my mother-in-law. Yeah.
It's rough. And so we moved in with my wife's mom. And when we moved, obviously I left the studio, which I wasn't too excited about. And she's like, well, Mom's got this property back behind the house. We'll build a studio. And I'm like, let's go. Like, can we go right now? And this was right after COVID. So we had builders come out to quote us on a studio that we had designed to build back behind the house. And we were thinking 75, 80 grand. The builder comes and quotes us at 2.25.
Yeah, it's never what you're thinking it's going to be.
And when he said that, I looked at my wife and her jaw opened and she turned and looked at me. And the first thing out of my mouth was, I don't want it.
Right.
I don't want that kind of burden over us because, again, with cell phones and people not understanding the benefits of a photographer, someone who knows what they're doing, I don't want it.
Yeah.
And, you know, my wife and I were spending a lot less time together. She was taking care of her mom a lot. And I kind of fell into a hole. I didn't have my creative space anymore.
Yeah.
And I started shooting less and less and less and less very quickly became to like never. In 2.5 years, I probably had one time I went out and shot with a couple of friends and did some portraits out in downtown Ackworth. But I'd pretty much given it up. I felt a faint pulse for the love that I had for it. And just so many times I had told my wife, I'm just going to sell all my shit. I'm just going to get rid of everything. We can use the money for something else. And my mom made me promise her before she passed away beginning of this year that I would not sell my camera gear, that I would keep going. And it was, I'm preluding to a story for a photo we're going to see, but it was a Saturday morning. Ray, you can help me with the date. It was the Jazz Festival at Etowah Park.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Swift had called me and he's like, hey man, I need you. He said, I'll be on, because I stopped shooting. I wasn't around as much. And I know that Swift said they had tried some other photographers. And it was even telling me that they had some people come out like, hey, we photographed the show. You want to buy some pictures? And he kind of looked at me like, But he told me flat out, he was like, Dan, he goes, I've tried other people, but they don't do it like you do it. I need you.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a beautiful day. It was overcast. I think it was drizzling a little bit on the way up there. And I didn't want to go, but I didn't want to tell Swift no.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody, edifies you like that and lifts you up. And he is the sole reason that the heart didn't stop.
Yeah.
And that day out at Etowah, we went out. I got some cool shots of Ray, some cool shots of Swift. And that same moment when I got home and I stuck the card into the computer and I pulled up the edits.
And there's the magic.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And since that time, the only thing I've been doing is music. I'm not opposed to portraits. I'm not opposed to cosplays. But what I love about shooting music is you don't have to pose anyone.
Right.
No trying to come up with this shot. All you got to do is watch because you guys are doing what you do.
Yeah.
And the other thing with music is I think majority of people, you take photos, people are impressed, but you're doing it for a regular person, not another creative, if that makes sense.
Sure.
As a handful of times I've seen myself in a photograph. I'm like, oh, wow, I look pretty cool doing it. Oh, like I know what I'm doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, to be able to capture that moment for another artist, be it even when we used to do portraits, I would shoot behind the scenes of a photographer taking a picture of the model.
Right. Yeah.
I love doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's so many things about the music, and again, talking about divine gifts and where much is given, much is expected. Personal experience, not to go down too deep in this rabbit hole, but, I know that God put this in my life. And for a while, I didn't really feel like I was using it for what he had intended me to use it for.
Yeah.
And while I found a lot of joy, in catching those shots and hanging out with people, it wasn't until I started doing the music that I really started feeling him tell me this was what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Getting to meet all the different musicians and the bands, and it's thrilling. It's great. I love it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade anything right now at all.
I think let's take a look at that shot. I think you're talking about when we played Swift's his solo project that he has, and I was actually playing bass that day, I believe.
You are.
Yeah, I was playing bass that day, and yeah. So this shot here was the middle of the day, right? Middle of the day on a concrete stage at an amphitheater in a park.
Yeah,
and it looks
it's a great shot.
It's that separation. It is what's so cool about it. I mean, obviously, that's trees, but if you get somewhere really crazy busy, and it's all blurred out, it's only represented by colors.
Yeah.
You're so focused on the subject, but yeah, I got home and saw this one, and again, just right away texted to Swift. I'm like, man, thank you. You've kept it alive for me. He really bailed me that day. He and you, Ray. Getting the chance. Because you guys are such good guys also, that just being around you guys is edifying and it's good for the heart. But to get out there and see you guys do what y'all do, and to know that you see me and feel about me the way I do about you, and that between the two of us we're creating magic, it's a thrilling thing to be a part of that. It really, really is.
Yeah, and as a band, if you have a band, or if you have a band, you need quality pictures.
Yes.
You need, if you're not playing the premier venues in your town, in your city, you need to look like you are. And the only way to look like you are pro is to have Dan Moore take your pictures.
Agree.
And give you content for your websites, your socials, all that kind of stuff. It is equally, in my opinion, it's equally as important as the quality of your sound, of your songs.
100%.
How you look. I mean, you've made me look like a rock star playing on a concrete stage in the middle of a park. My view from where I'm at on the stage, I'm looking at, a walking track and people walking dogs and this stuff. But when you see the picture, it's like, wow, okay, that's
what we were playing. I'd like to employ you. I've got two things coming up that I'm not at liberty to talk about yet, but I would love to employ you for them because
absolutely.
they're two of the biggest things I've ever done in my drumming career.
And you want to capture that.
And I would love to have it captured by
I'm there, man.
your talents.
I appreciate it.
And we can talk about it off air. I can't obviously yet talk about it. I can talk about it soon. I just can't do it right this second.
No, I'm there. Anything you guys need, and anybody that happens to be watching this, if you know.
Oh, we're gonna pump you. Don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, for sure. Talking back about that Swift picture. Swift will always wear interesting colors and outfits and all these things. Is that something that you like when somebody's dressing the part, or does it matter to have color contrast?
Not really. I think it's important to capture the person in their natural essence, and that's one of the things I love about Swift is he's always wearing kind of flashy kind of stuff but no, I've done stuff completely where it's a color photo, but clothes are all black, makeup's black. I think it's so many pieces of it. It's knowing the equipment, how to set stuff, and how to get the desired look you're trying to go for, and then what you do with it in post processing. I mean, I know I've definitely been guilty of it in the beginning before I learned. But you were talking about, have I ever pulled up older photos and be like, oh, I remember where I was when I shot that.
Yeah.
And when I first started strobing, I took a portrait of my wife, and when I edited it, it was just. Y'all seen that thing on Facebook where it's Steve Harvey and he's clean on one side and the other side he looks like a blob?
Yeah.
It was kind of like that.
Yeah.
But no, anything. I don't have any particular preference to color of skin or what you're wearing, where we do it.
Yeah.
My buddy Warren that shoots the NHRA and the rodeo stuff that I kind of mentored, he's like, Dan, you could take a picture of a crushed up aluminum can in front of a dumpster and make it look good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's a real compliment.
Yeah, it is. Well, I will say to talk about that is if you are a band and you hire a photographer, show up looking the part. Don't just come on stage, jean shorts.
We've been talking about that with probably every podcast it's kind of mentioned here and there, but yeah, if you're in a band and you want to look cool,
jean shorts, if I guess.
Don't look like you just cut the fucking grass and get up on stage. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But on top of that, don't go over the top and be a Warren Star advertisement.
You just can't wear the uniform. You can wear either a shirt or the pants. You just don't wear both.
Yeah. So you can overdo it, but you can underdo it too.
Yeah,
just,
definitely.
That's definitely a thing.
It depends on what your style is and what music it is, what crowd you're playing to and what venues you're playing at, because certain styles of music call for that. So
but always be prepared too, because you never know where somebody's going to be with the camera and you're not expecting it, and they come and show you a shot and you're like, oh damn, I wish
that could have been a cool shot if I wasn't wearing the shorts that I had on a weekend.
Yeah.
Be ready, because you never know where lightning's going to strike.
Yeah. And also respect the stage. I probably have said this ad nauseum, but again, I don't care if it's a concrete stage at a little amphitheater looking over a walking track in a park, or if it's center stage opening for Stryper. Did you treat the same stage?
Was he there for that?
I don't know if you did the Stryper show.
Didn't you open for them twice?
Well, we opened electric once and acoustic once.
Oh, okay.
And I think he shot the acoustic one.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
At 37 Main.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, just
very dark.
Yeah.
That was very.
They may have lessened the dress code in the Senate, but let's not do that for the stage.
Right.
Right. Let's do it. Let's take another look at another one here. I might know this guy. Who's this guy here?
It's a handsome fella right there.
That guy right there. That's the latest one with the
Was that the lit up the sticks?
Yep. You got red sticks.
That's cool.
The clear.
Which one are you?
We're looking at Giza, the first Giza one with Rick on drums.
Oh yeah.
And I don't even know how did you capture that shot from side stage?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't see him the entire time. It could be just because I was focused on what I was doing.
Yeah.
The sniper.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a stage ninja for sure. It's great.
Drummers are a little more difficult.
Yep.
That one worked really well because there was so much light hitting on and the light reflecting off the cymbal onto your face.
Yeah.
I think is what really allowed that one to catch.
Mm-hmm.
But Jeff is always complaining whenever I shoot Hopes. He's like, "Come on, man, let me get a picture." I'm like, "It's so dark back there."
Yeah.
But again, learning to be able to stretch the ISO capability with the camera, I'm still learning to spread my wings on certain things. But that was just one of those that, when I saw it, when I was flipping through pictures, I was like, "That
cherry."
That's
yeah. You've done more than just that one. There's some really good pictures that you took of me that I'm really stoked over. And I've been posting them on my Facebook page as my what do you call it? Your profile picture. Yeah, thank you. Man, I'm brain farting.
Whenever I see somebody I've done a picture of, when they pop up profile picture up, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to bump you a little more like when I do that, because I switch it and I'll switch it for a few days, and I need to at least put a remark on there on who did it, and I'm really bad about that.
Well, we'll definitely do the tag, but we still have a lot of pictures from that show. I don't like to do so. This is just me, but I don't like to do photo dumps. I don't like to do all 30 pictures from the show in one post.
Yeah.
I like to leak them out.
Like the songs. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, because obviously the attention span of the world is so short that you give them 19 pictures in a thing, they're gonna look at 2, 3 tops.
Yeah.
So if you leak them out, one here, another one here, another one here, I think it stretches out the value of the whole shoot by stretching it out like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken me some time to get on board with that. My wife's always like, spread them out, because I just get excited about a shoot, and I'm like, all right, get them all done by 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then boom.
Yeah.
But I've started doing that also, is because like you said, they'll look through a few and they're just like, oh yeah, those are great, and then they'll skip the rest.
Yeah, they totally will skip the rest. This next shot, I don't know who this guy is, but he's trying to figure out what he's playing.
That's a cool shot.
So the picture of me at the last Giza show here, obviously Mad Life has great lighting. I'm not sure if it's great lighting for you, or is it too much for you as a photographer?
No, it's perfect. There's been a couple times. I think the last Hope show, I asked the guys if they could kick the lights up just a little more.
Wow.
You don't want to ruin the ambiance in the venue,
right?
But at the same time, the more light that is on, and the way those are all directionally pointed, it always creates really nice effects.
Yeah,
it's easier to get the shots. But man, anytime you're ever holding a guitar and I throw that camera up on you, some of my absolute favorite stuff is of you shredding that thing.
Yeah, Joey Clouda is the light engineer for Mad Life now, and he's really good.
Yeah,
real easy to work with, and he tries. You know what I mean? He tries to learn your music, and he tries to accent songs where he knows. We've only played there twice, and he likes the music, so he really works hard on making a good light show, and he always does a great job.
Yeah, it comes back to what we were saying, creatives capturing creatives.
Yeah. Oh, and he's a hell of a musician too.
Yeah. A guy like that is going to, like you said, read the song and realize that, okay, section A, section B, section C, solo.
He was pissed because he missed the exact same.
All missed it.
He was like, man, I'm sorry. I missed that spot on the very first song. I'm like, dude, we all went down together. Don't feel bad at all.
And that's kind of the fun of it too, is, the locker room of talking about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Man, I screwed this up. And, it's funny that, we talk probably more about what we screwed up or what was not perfect. Then we do, oh man, that was fun.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and then, you know, we talk about how fun it was later, but you know, in the heat of battle, if anything goes wrong, you know, you can get rattled so quick.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and
we're all different. We all act different pre-show. Like Ray is almost, you just leave him be.
I'm
you know
hard
what I mean?
to be around.
Well, you just got to know how he is, and you got to know how to take him. Because if you didn't know him,
Yeah.
in pre-show, you were on stage with him, you would think, yeah, all right, this guy's an a-hole.
Yeah.
But he's really, you know, if you know him, then you know he's just focused, uber focused, and he's a perfectionist, and he doesn't mean anything at all by anything. So you just try, I try to just, I just tell him to breathe, because I'm kind of the same way. I mean, I am the same way. I can be hot-headed and, up, and I'm right back down. But everybody's different. So, like, prior to a show for you, what's it like? Are you like,
what's your prep?
My prep?
Yeah. Do you get nervous packing your bags or any of that?
Since I started doing the music, not so much, but I take that back. I mean, there's been a few times where I'll wonder if that tonight's going to be the night that I mess everything up and I miss. But I don't, and I don't say that to be arrogant. It's just,
that's
again,
all of us. It's
when you have
like
that
any
ability
musician.
and talent to do it. I don't feel butterflies or nervousness anymore, because somehow, through the grace of God and the gift He's given me, when I go to share that gift, He anoints me and magic happens.
That's awesome.
That's all I know to explain it.
Yeah.
But aside from it, getting some camera settings adjusted to where the light, everything looked good, and I know I'm shooting at an aperture I want, and I know I'm shooting at a fast enough shutter, come out. And there's been a few times just where that you barely have that blue light shining down. I think y'all were playing a video one time at a Hope's Anchor show, right?
Yep.
And Harry was up there. I think he was tuning his bass or something, and he's used it as a profile picture. But it's a black shot, and he's just kind of silhouetted with this beautiful royal blue color.
Yeah.
So there's always great times for photos, even when they're not planned. That's always been some of my favorite candids.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes doing music so fun, is because for all practical purposes, it is a candid.
Yeah.
Because you don't know that you have a camera on you. You're just doing you.
Yeah.
And the magic happens.
Yeah, that is 100% of the time when I'm on stage, I'm not even thinking about Dan Moore.
No.
Capturing me if I'm in the middle of a solo or anything like that. I'm worried about supporting my brothers in arms.
Yeah.
To get through this song as perfect as we can.
Yeah. And putting on a show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're playing it for Relio from the heart, then he's going to capture the essence, like you said earlier.
Right.
That word is perfect.
Yeah.
For what you do, as far as that goes.
Yeah. And not to mention, you can't take a bad picture of Harry. I don't think he's so damn handsome.
No.
Yeah. Handsome Harry. Let's see what else we got here in the bin here. We got the shot of me with the Schecter. Michael Scott playing bass.
Yeah.
This one right here, man. I mean, this is definitely probably one of my top 3 photos that I've done since I got back into it.
Yeah.
And there's just something kind of, purple rainy about that I just absolutely love.
That is a super cool shot.
And that's, again, a reason to shoot multiple shots, because the spotlights, if I would have shot one, they could have been coming down his back. They could have been absent.
He's inside of it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's inside the rain of light there.
Yeah, but that's definitely one of my, when I saw that one, I was like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
So Michael Scott's the bass player for Giza's Gone, and I can look at that picture and I can tell you exactly where it is and what song it is. It's that is Stay Calm, and that is in the breakdown in between solo 1 and solo 2. And I can tell that by the visual that's on that screen.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's
considering you built it.
Yeah. When I look at a picture like that, that's what I take away.
Yeah. You hear the picture.
Yeah, I hear the picture. I know exactly where it is, and I know it's in C sharp, and I know
That
It's
picture, that shot's in C sharp.
It's gonna be awesome.
That's really cool.
Uh,
Yeah, the geese with the screens and everything. I got a lot of great shots just from the visuals you guys had.
yeah,
Even with the darker setting, it wasn't as brightly lit, but
Yep.
it amazing stuff.
yeah. Well, you were just talking about the lighting guy at Mad Life.
Mm-hmm.
From
Joey.
Joey, he knew instinctively that, you know, the visual presentation on the screens was kind of key, and to lower some of the ambient light,
Mm-hmm.
they were able to darken the stage to where the videos popped, and without even talking about
He's getting his sea legs. He knows he's a creative too, obviously, and he writes really good music. So he's in tune with all of that, all of it.
We should have him on
100%.
lighting. Yeah,
100%.
all right. So what do we got next here?
We've got Mr. Wally.
Nope.
No,
Oh,
another you
okay.
shredding like a big dog.
Yeah,
All right. So
that's my favorite.
yeah, that's Hope's Anchor. And I wear a little bit different outfit when I play with Hope's Anchor, but like look at the down by the signature on the left.
That's
lower
not the same hat you wear in our band, is it?
It
You
is.
son of a bitch.
It's to cover my.
Is that a Warren Star?
My gray hair.
Is that a Warren Star Derby?
No, it's actually a Target made in China
Nice. Okay.
medium derby. It's not a derby. It's a paperboy hat or something like that.
Okay. You bought it at Target?
Uh-huh.
You son of a bitch.
That's all I got.
What the hell is wrong with you?
I need to get signature hats.
You really should.
That would be cool.
You and Michael should match. Oh, wait, you do.
Yeah, we do actually. Hey, going back to that shot, down by where do you?
It's an excellent shot.
Where do you decide to put your watermark?
I when I first started, I wanted to do it, but I always put it like in the bottom right hand corner, like maybe a 1 inch margin on each side, like it was tucked away.
Yeah.
And it was more, my signature was more bubbly. It was taller then, and I kind of compacted it, made it sleeker. And my wife actually told me once, she's like, you need to stop putting it down there in the corner because part of your artistry is your signature.
Yeah.
So I just started moving it up more into the photos. And I've had people over the years like, great picture if it didn't have that writing in there. But more time.
No.
And I tell photographers that I've mentored them, like, and they'll take pictures and they'll post them. They won't do any post process. They won't watermark them. I'm like, watermark them.
Yeah.
Because this is your art.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've got cool pictures where they watermark across the entire picture.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is obviously you're going to make me, pay
to remove the watermark, and that's fine too.
I agree with it, but don't send it to me for use. You know what I mean? Say, hey, these I've got,
Well, the most famous painting on the planet, name one. They're all signed.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you sign your paint? Why wouldn't you sign your paint?
100% should be. Yeah. And I agree with your wife. I think make it part of the make it visible. Like,
well, this was artistically used. If you look at that signature, it's where there's a highlight of light. Almost looks like it's on wood, but I think that is a drape, a backdrop. But it pops because it's there. Now, do you use
the same colors, the lighting?
I was gonna say, do you use different colors on your?
I do.
Okay, so
like on this one, I think I sampled some of the purple in your hat. I always try to have it coordinated to something in the photo that really pops, but also making it contrast to where you can see it.
Yeah. And I don't think people have any idea that kind of thought goes into a simple placement of a signature.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what we got next here. Next we have Harry. Handsome Harry.
I've got several shots that were taken around this time frame of this particular shot, but anyone who's ever been to a Hope's Anchor show and has heard Bend and heard the story of how it was brought about, and to see Harry perform it, you just see the love he has for his kid in that. And handsome Harry, man, you can't take a bad picture, you really can't.
No.
He's really amazing.
He's a sweet man.
Yeah,
he really is.
Yeah, we were talking. I don't know if I was talking to you. I think it might have been you. We were having a conversation, and I may or may have. I have lost my temper in a setup, or in 17 years, I might have gotten mad once or twice. I've never seen Harry Wally mad at anything or anybody.
Nope.
And I think that's a trait that he doesn't even know that he has.
Yeah.
I agree.
So let's see what else we got here. We've got Jess. This is what band is this?
Old Sonics. I don't remember the drummer's name, but catching the drummers is something I've been, now that I'm learning the capabilities of the camera in low light, I'm getting up there and cranking that thing up as high as it'll go, and just trusting that I can post-process it to where it comes out right. But this was just the lighting on his face, his nose, the stick.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a cool
It was
shot.
just one that stuck. But in the last 6 months, I've probably got a catalog going of around 200 photos. So, and I sit on the couch every night with my iPad. I have an iPad Pro, and I just sit there and just flip through pictures night after night. I love having them.
Yeah.
So when you're done looking at porn, then you start looking at your pictures that you took?
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Look at porn on breaks.
We can edit that out. I'm just fucking around.
on the that last shot, if there's a bright, and even the Harry shot right before that, if there's a bright LED wall or screen bright behind them, do you just automatically instinctually go, okay, that's gonna be a silhouette? Like on this shot here, it almost becomes a silhouette of the drummer, except for like when you said the lighting on his face.
Yeah. So when one of the things that took me a long time to learn is, if you're taking pictures and you're in manual mode, watch your light meter. There's a meter inside the camera that will tell you when you're on proper, perfect exposure.
Oh.
It took me a long time to learn that, but some of these, it was just, the lights are coming on, they're going off. And this was one of those where, I was probably frame or shot 7 out of 15 consecutive shots, and this was one of them. And that's just another reason why I shoot as many as I can, because you just never know which one's going to be the one.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's key to, capturing that cherry, and automatically recognizing it when you see it. Like, okay, that one's got legs. Let's go with that one. We talked about, pre-show. Do you have a checklist, or is it just a mental checklist? Make sure that these batteries are charged. That kind of thing. And have you ever screwed up? What's the worst screw up with a technical failure you've ever had on a shoot?
I think the worst thing, I've always been really prepared when I go. Maybe you forget one of the batteries, so I only have one, which rarely you'll drain. When I went and shot the show for after school special, I forgot my second QXD card. So I actually filled the card up with about 1,500 photos. I was shooting JPEG and RAW files, so I could have both formats to play with. But even at a moment where I could have, if I would have brought the second card, I could have got more photos. Filling that card up allowed me to put my camera down and sit and enjoy the rest of the show with my wife.
That makes sense.
So it's, but no, I've always tried to, kind of like a little OCD in me. I make sure my batteries are charged. I make sure I have all my lenses, make sure I have batteries, make sure you have because you don't want to get out and not have something. It's like when we used to do portraits in the studio, models would ask, well, what should I bring? I'm like, a suitcase with everything.
Yeah.
Because it's better to get to only 5% of it than to say, oh, I wish I would have bought my Ray-Bans.
Right.
Something like that. So I take all of it with me everywhere I go, because you never know what you're going to need.
Yeah. And when you need it, you're like, why didn't I bring it?
Yeah.
That's the worst. That's the worst feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see what we got here in the last shot. I believe we have another. Okay, silhouette. So was that an LED wall or something behind them, or
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
They had a really cool little setup for lights. There was a lot of variation and changes in it, and I knew it was going to be an awesome set when I saw that wall. I was like,
Yeah.
this is going to be for a corporate event. I wasn't really sure what to expect, but
Yeah.
you know, again, that was just one of those divine days. I actually got laid off from work that morning,
Yeah.
but it turned out to be an absolutely great day. And as soon as I got home, I jumped right on the computer and started editing. It's you know, something with me also. I've heard people say, yeah, if somebody came out and took pictures for us, but that was 3 months ago and I haven't even heard word.
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand how somebody creates something and sits on it.
Yeah. Well,
Just,
that's you know, that leaking out process that I was talking about earlier. That some of it can be that,
yeah,
and you know, some of it can be, you know, as creatives, there can be. I don't know if it's good enough. I don't know if that was good enough to
yeah,
post or to publish. Um, you know, the OCD thing that you just talked about. I think that's kind of a trait that's inside of creative people
yeah,
that it- they either have that and they get stuff done and you know move on to next, or they can get paralysis by analysis and
yeah,
and not release anything. You know,
Yeah.
it could be the greatest thing ever, and they just you know they can't make a decision. Um, it sounds like you have the ability to quickly make a decision and say, "That's it, let's go next. That's it,
yeah,
let's go next."
yeah. That's where it's gotten.
Yeah, and that only comes, I think, with time and
It does.
yeah,
It does. Like I said, 15 years.
yeah,
You know, and I feel like I've really been on my A game for probably the last I'd say 7.
hmm
But it's just all taken such a huge drastic turn. Getting involved with the music.
yeah,
It's effortless for me at this point. It's just finding the bands to connect with and getting out there and building my catalog and getting my name known. You
yeah,
know, I'm a very humble person. Like I said, there's enough room for everybody to come and enjoy what we do.
hmm
Um, but I like to be a part of that creative process and to be able to, you know, give someone photos that they're like, no one's ever done anything like this before. It's very, very rewarding
yeah,
and gratifying as a creative.
yeah. Well, how would somebody and if you're an original band, which is what we pretty much, you know, kind of focus on, I would highly recommend getting professional footage, you know, photographs and video. Um, how would somebody go about getting in touch with you to have you come out to a show?
I have a website. It's got the session pricing information on there was directly geared towards the portraits. I haven't revamped that part.
hmm
But my website is www.drphoto.biz. And I've got some of the concert stuff on there. I've got some lifestyle and another portfolio. So, but there's a direct link in there where you can email. Of course, you guys. I mean, it's not hard to get hold of me.
No, we just call you.
Yeah.
We just call you. Hey, dude. Speaking of which, we do have an anchor show coming up. We're doing a benefit next Saturday at Etowah Mill near the Reformation Brewery. It's we're gonna hit at noon. Um, and like if you hire Dan to come out and do your show, don't have him just come out and do your show. I've got so many killer shots in the green room. Um, uh, you know, after setup, the band, you know, there's a shot that I in my mind, um, where Hope's Anchor, we had set up and we were getting ready to go on stage and we were just leaning over a rail,
Oh yeah.
you know, leaning
Yeah.
over a rail and pointing at you because we saw you down
Yeah.
there and
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite shots, you know. So there's a lot to capture, not just your performance, that you can use in your EPKs, your websites, socials, any of that stuff. You don't want to just have Johnny, your buddy, with a Samsung.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
You do.
You don't want some of that stuff is great to have on your socials and stuff, but you really want to have polished stuff to make you look polished.
Yeah.
That simple.
Yep.
So, something powerful. It looks like it was, you can tell when it's been taken properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Dano, man, we really appreciate you coming on and talking. I highly recommend reach out to Dan and have him come shoot your show, and see you hopefully this coming Saturday.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, count on it.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, drphoto.biz, Dan Moore. Get your shots. We'll be back. Thanks.
You're watching the Original Music Podcast with your hosts Raymond Hems and Rick Gaffman.